There was once a woman who stood at the heart of darkness, all while carrying herself in a graceful, poised way. And even though she wasn't your regular masked vigilante, her presence shaped the destiny of one of the most fearsome anti-heroes in comics. That's Wanda Blake for you. People saw her as a loving wife and a compassionate soul in the dark world. But there's always more beneath the surface. Her story is somewhat of a tangled web. So, who is she really? What makes her so important to the world of Spawn? And how did a woman like her become the heartbeat of such a hellish tale? That's exactly what we'll be diving into today. Let's begin. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Wanda Blake? Wanda Blake was born into a modest middle-class family in the suburbs of Ohio. Her upbringing was quiet but not easy. Her parents, Charles and Elaine Blake, were hard-working people who placed a strong emphasis on honesty and standing up for what's right. Her father was a public school teacher, and her mother worked part-time at a local library. Hence, the values of compassion, discipline, and self-reliance were instilled in Wanda from a young age. She was always curious, articulate, and outspoken, even as a child. At school, she was the kind of student who wasn't just top of her class. She was also the one organizing charity drives, tutoring classmates, and asking the kind of difficult questions teachers had to pause before answering. Early on, it was clear Wanda wasn't going to sit quietly on the sidelines of life. By the time she reached college, Wanda's ambition had crystallized. As she wanted to become a civil rights attorney, she pursued a law degree, even attending a reputable university where she specialized in human rights and social justice. Although her passion wasn't for courtroom theatrics, it was for real impact with grassroots reform and protecting the underrepresented. So we know one thing, she cared deeply about the things around her. It was during this period in her life, as she was building a name for herself in legal circles, that she met Al Simmons. At the time, he was serving in the U.S. military, on leave from a classified assignment. Their connection was built almost instantly, as Wanda saw something vulnerable behind Al's hardened exterior. And Al found peace in her grounded presence, so that was that. And like all people in love, they too decided to get married. Wanda believed she could build a life with Al's, a home away from the chaos of his military operation. Though she knew very little about the dark corners of this government work, she trusted him fully. You might call her the calm to his storm, possibly the reason he wanted something better than the violence he'd become used to. They even tried for a kid for years, but since the doctor declared that it wasn't in the cards for them, they eventually accepted their fate. But alas, their time together was short-lived. Al Simmons was betrayed and killed by his own agency, leaving Wanda's world shattered. As she was left widowed and confused, Wanda had to rebuild from scratch, unaware that Al's story was far from over yet. Wanda Blake in the comic universe. Spawn number 1, 1992. Wanda's introduction. Wanda Blake first appears in Spawn number 1 as the grieving widow of Al Simmons. But what she didn't know was that her husband had returned from hell as a Hellspawn. 5 years had passed since his death. Wanda seemed to have moved on, as she remarried his best friend, Terry Fitzgerald, and the two now have a daughter named Cyan. For Spawn, who emerges confused and disoriented after being resurrected, seeing Wanda again is a crushing blow to him. He doesn't fully understand what he's become or why he's back, but all he knows is that he wants to return to Wanda. But once he tracks her down, the guy is devastated to see her new family. This moment sets up a key emotional thread that runs through much of the Spawn series. Wanda represents everything Al lost, and her new life with Terry and Cyan becomes the symbolic heart of Spawn's torment. Spawn number 3 through 4, watching from afar. In issues number 3 and number 4, Spawn becomes something of a silent guardian as he watches Wanda and her new family from the darkness. He lingers near the places she frequently visits, like her home, neighborhood, and even Cyan's school. These issues dig deeper into Al's heartbreak and the reality of his situation, since he's now a disfigured, undead anti-hero whose powers are tied to hell itself. Revealing himself to Wanda would not bring comfort or closure to anyone, rather only terrify her. But perhaps what scares him the most is that Wanda is really happy in her new life, and he's not part of it. Spawn number 6 and 7, Jason Wynn. In Spawn number 6 and number 7, the story picks up momentum when a corrupt CIA operative who orchestrated Al Simmons' death enters the picture again. His name is Jason Wynn, and he ends up being a looming threat not just to Spawn, but to Terry Fitzgerald and, by extension, Wanda and Cyan. Wanda gets caught in the crossfire of this high-stakes political and supernatural game. Wynn targets Terry, suspicious of his activities and connections, putting the entire Fitzgerald household under scrutiny. Though Spawn still hasn't revealed himself to Wanda, he takes action to protect her, especially when assassins and covert operatives come too close to Wanda and Cyan. He bravely steps in from the shadows to save them. Wanda remains unaware of who or what is exactly saving them, but at this point, it gets pretty clear that someone is watching over her. Spawn number 8, Heaven, Hell, and Wanda's Shadow. In Spawn number 8, we're introduced to the celestial hierarchy through the debut of Angela, who is a heaven-sent bounty hunter with a mission to exterminate hell spawns. While Wanda doesn't physically appear in this issue, her presence looms large. Spawn, who is still grappling with his demonic rebirth, is caught between forces far greater than himself. His desire to reunite with Wanda remains the only tether grounding him to his humanity, thus making Wanda the emotional core of his existence, even in her absence. Spawn number 17 and 18, Wanda's Nightmare. These issues mark one of the first major times Wanda becomes truly aware of the paranormal forces surrounding her. While she still doesn't know Al is Spawn, her sense of danger increases as Terry's health and work situation deteriorate due to pressure from Wynn and the NSA, and Wanda begins to suspect their family is being targeted, not realizing how it's tied to her late husband. For Spawn, this is a moment of terrible clarity. Watching Wanda suffer emotionally, feeling helpless, despite his powers, forces him to question the morality of staying in her life, even in secret. Wanda's strength contrasts with Spawn's emotional instability. She becomes the anchor in a storm he can't control, and that only deepens his guilt. Spawn number 32 and 33, A Glimpse of the Truth. In these issues, cracks begin to form in the veil hiding Spawn's true identity from Wanda. Cyan, who possesses a strange spiritual sensitivity, begins drawing pictures of a scary but kind man who looks suspiciously like Spawn. Wanda brushes it off at first, assuming her daughter's imagination is simply vivid, but the idea plants a seed of unease. Meanwhile, Spawn continues to deal with increasingly brutal threats from both heaven and hell. He saves Terry from a murder attempt, orchestrated by Wynn, but still avoids making direct contact with Wanda. It's clear, however, that the universe is pushing the boundaries of just how long he can keep the truth hidden. Spawn number 50, The Revelation. In this landmark issue, the truths that have been building for 49 issues finally begin to surface. Wanda, who is now tired of the secrecy and strain her family has endured, begins to demand answers. Cyan's vision increases in frequency, and strange symbols appear in their home, clues that force Wanda to confront the unknown as she finally senses a familiar presence in the mysterious vigilante who's been protecting her family. At one point, she even finds herself looking directly at Spawn from a distance. Her eyes recognize him, but they are also filled with disbelief. Spawn, meanwhile, is forced to admit that keeping Wanda in the dark may no longer be the kindest act. His need to protect her is at odds with her right to the truth. Spawn number 250, The Weight of Legacy. By Spawn number 250, Al Simmons has returned as Spawn after a long absence from the role. Wanda is long deceased at this point, but her emotional fingerprint is all over the place. As soon as Simmons reclaims the mantle of Spawn, it's clear that his motivations are no longer rooted in selfish pain or the desire to reclaim a lost life. Wanda becomes the symbol of the world he's now trying to preserve. Her strength, morality, and unwavering kindness form the backbone of his resolve. Spawn number 300, Milestone and Motivation. Spawn number 300 is one of the most significant issues in Image Comics history, and for Al Simmons, it's a personal reckoning. By now, the Spawn mythology has exploded in scale, warring hellspawns, celestial battles, corrupted angels, and reality-breaking consequences. But amidst all that, the comic smartly circles back to the emotional core that started it all, Wanda Blake. While not physically resurrected, Wanda's memory continues to shape the way Al makes decisions. Spawn's enemies underestimate that kind of motivation. They expect vengeance or conquest, but they don't expect quiet grief turned into unstoppable purpose. Wanda is still very much the reason Spawn resists, slipping into nihilism. She keeps his war personal, even when the stakes become cosmic. King Spawn number 7, The Truth Behind Her Death. In King Spawn number 7, readers are finally hit with a cruel truth. Wanda's death was not random, nor was it collateral damage from the war between heaven and hell. It was orchestrated by Spawn's enemies and designed specifically to provoke him, to tear away the last piece of his soul that kept him grounded. It was psychological warfare. More than ever, Wanda Blake becomes the reason Al Simmons refuses to submit to darkness. Her name, her memory, and the truth behind her fate light the fire that fuels the King Spawn we see today. All about Wanda Looks. Wanda Blake is consistently portrayed as a gracefully poised woman. In the comics, she has deep brown eyes, a strong facial structure, and shoulder-length black hair that is styled very simply to reflect her down-to-earth demeanor. She often dresses in modest, practical attire that reflects her maturity and professional nature. In the 1997 Spawn movie, Wanda is played by Teresa Randall and is seen dressing conservatively, often in tones that evoke calm and strength. Personality. Wanda Blake's personality is defined by emotional strength and a hell of a lot of compassion. In early issues of Spawn, her resilience becomes clear after the supposed death of Al Simmons. Rather than collapsing under grief, she gradually rebuilds her life, remarries Terry Fitzgerald, and raises Cyan in a stable environment. It doesn't mean she forgot her first husband, but change is necessary, and healing is better than being consumed by your past. Wanda's compassion is most apparent in her relationship with Cyan. Her nurturing behavior is often a balancing force in a story filled with darkness. When Spawn reveals himself to her in issue number 50, she doesn't scream or run, but rather decides to process the horror and acknowledges the tragedy. Goals. Wanda's primary goal is the protection and well-being of her family. From the start, she wants to give Cyan a safe and happy upbringing. Everything she does, whether marrying Terry, maintaining her legal career, or confronting threats, is aligned with creating a stable home environment. In Spawn number 29 and 30, when Terry is hospitalized, she fiercely defends him and challenges the institutions responsible for the harm. Her assertiveness reflects a woman whose goal is to not simply survive, but to attain justice. Marvelous verdict. And there you have it. Wanda Blake, the woman who was never a superhero and yet carried more emotional weight than most Caped Crusaders ever could. She was Al Simmons' heart before he became Spawn, and his haunting reminder of everything he lost after. From her quiet resilience to her fierce protection of her family, Wanda was never just a side character. She was the soul of the story. Every step she took shaped Spawn's path, whether she realized it or not. And even though her time in the comics faded, but her presence never truly disappeared. So, next time you dive into Spawn's world of demons, remember the light he lost. It was Wanda Blake. Which was your favorite moment in the series? Tell us in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives. We'll catch you in the next one.